welcome back to the channel. This week I want to talk to you guys about target panic. And, there is a lot of good information out there you can watch and find. There's also a lot of bad information, I personally feel like. So I've got Blake here. What I would call Blake is what I call an execution style shooter. So Blake gets back, he's settled strong, he's going to execute through the release aid, and that's how he likes to shoot and execute shots. But I break this down on three different levels here. In my opinion, there's three different ways to shoot a bow. So you have the one side where Blake here, he likes to be what we call an execution style shooter, okay? And that seems to be the most preferred method for most shooters. That's my preferred method for shooting. But on the other side of this, we have what we used to call punchers, but they don't like to be called that anymore. We call them command shooters. And command shooters, man, some of these guys are great archers. They're really tough to beat. But when they get to full draw, you'll see them at full draw. When they're ready to fire the shot, they will actually fire the trigger when they are ready. And that works really good for some shooters, not so much for me, but everyone has their own preferences that way. And so then you kind of got like what I'd call the John Dudley method, right? So John Dudley wants you to get to full draw, settle strong. He actually wants you to kind of pull and expand through the shot to get the shot to break. So depending on personality type and who you are, might really determine what style of shooter are you. Are you more of that, like, I'm going to draw, I'm going to tell that release to fire when I want it to fire, or are you going to be someone like me and Blake that wants a little bit more of that surprise shot feeling? Regardless of which method you prefer, as long as you're hitting the center of the target, we don't care. Whatever you find that works best for you, figure out your shot and perfect it. But when it comes to target panic, I think the biggest thing that most guys start and have target panic with is their inability to aim the bow. And so I see this a lot with customers that get to full draw. You can see that their pin's moving quite a bit on target. And that starts with what we call the drive-by method. So you can see their pin on the target, the pin's kind of floating, and eventually they start punching that trigger before the pin's really settled or in the center of the target. And so that's, I think, what kind of starts the snowball effect into a target panic. And then I see another thing that we fight a lot is what we fight more of what we call an aiming issue. So I see this a lot. A lot of customers come in and tell me that they struggle from this, that they can draw their bow, they can hold it full draw, but they hold underneath the target. And they say, man, the bow feels like 1,000 pounds. Like if this is the target they want to hit, their pin can sit underneath. They feel extremely strong, really steady. But as soon as they try to bring the pin to the middle of the target, the bow feels like 1,000 pounds. So if that describes you and what you're feeling, that is a form of what we'd call an aiming issue. And so there's a couple different methods and strategies, I guess you could say, to kind of cure or solve that. But, a lot of guys say that they like to shoot what we call blank bill. And to be honest with you, I am not a fan of blank bill. In my opinion, it doesn't work the way that it's designed to. And the reason being is, me and Blake are set up here in our demo booth. There's no target up there. For customers that suffer from an aiming issue or some target panic, they can sit in front of a target all day long and not aim at anything and break the most perfect, most controlled shots. Everything feels fantastic. However, the moment they try to start aiming the pin on a target, all those old bad habits come back in, whether they want to punch the trigger or they have that lockup where they aim low underneath the target. So I think one of the best methods that I found and I recommend for most of my shooters is to still start close like this with Blake. But I actually want him to work on aiming. And so with archery, it doesn't matter how good a shot you break. It matters how good do you aim the bow. And so starting off close like this, Blake, go ahead and draw back for me. So starting off close, Blake's still going to work on muscle memory, form, technique. Once he gets set, gets into his anchor point, I want him to focus on a spot on the target, and then he's going to go through and execute a perfect shot here for me. Perfect. So, one of the things that I like to do with customers that come in that I work with is we'll go back to the range and we're going to start at 5 yards. I'm going to put up a pretty large target. I think the other problem is guys want to aim at too small of a dot, and then their pin covers the whole dot where they can't quite see what they're aiming. So I think aiming at a larger dot that you can actually center your pin inside of visually will help you connect the dots visually. And then what I like to do is I'll shoot 5 arrows at 5 yards. And if the shots break perfect, I'm aiming good, everything's right where I want, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 2 or 3 big steps back from the target. I'm going to repeat that same shot process. And then as I slowly work away from the target, I'm still having a good strong aim and hold, and the shot execution is exactly how I want it to feel. I'm slowly getting farther and farther from the target. But if you get far enough away from the target and you start to go back to your old habits, you start to punch, you start to aim low again, come back in close to the target, visually connect the dots of your brain being able to aim the pin on the target right where you want that arrow to go, but still have the ultimate control of your release aid, whether you want to be a command shooter or a controlled shooter like Blake. Those are some of the things you can try. So for guys at home that you're struggling with some of those things, still, shoot close, aim at a dot, really work on that shot process, trigger control. If you just don't feel like the pin is slowing down, you can't get the pin to aim, you might want to start looking at maybe the hold weight or even the draw length of your bow. So if either of those things are off, your draw length or hold weight is off, that could be causing why you can never get the pin to slow down or aim. You can't break a good shot because the pin's just never where you want it to be. So, one thing leads to another, but with enough practice, enough coaching, if you guys, depending on where you're at, we have some phenomenal coaches here at Wilde Arrow you can come in and work with. We can help work through some of these things. But, for other guys, if you're across the country, contact your local pro shop. You probably have an expert in there just like us. You can go in, they're going to spend the time with you, hopefully work with you and get you through some of these issues with your shot process and, help control that target panic to where you feel more confident at the range and more confident in the field. So, if you have any questions, comment down below. I go through and read all the comments. There's a lot of good feedback and information we get from that. But if you like the content you're seeing on the channel, guys, give us a like, give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate subscriptions. That way, as we put out more content like this, you're going to get notified when those things are available. So, comment down below. We really appreciate the feedback, and remember to get wild.